On Thursday morning, my son called to say he was watching my daughter-in-law board a flight to Paris in seat 3A, first class. I said, "Baby, that's impossible. Keisha's in the shower upstairs right now. I'm Roberta Bivens. I'm 66 years old, and that phone call split my world in two. I said, "Baby, that's impossible. Keisha's upstairs in the shower right now." He said, "Mama, I'm holding her passport in my hand, and I'm watching her on the security monitor. Seat 3A, first class, next to some white man in a $3,000 suit." I'm Roberta Bivens. I'm 66 years old. I've lived in 3rd Ward, Houston, for 43 years. I raised 2 sons alone after my husband James died of a heart attack in our kitchen 11 years ago. I've survived things that would break younger women. I've learned to trust my eyes, trust my gut, and trust that when something don't add up, somebody's subtracting the truth. I looked up at the ceiling. I could hear the water still running through the pipes. I could hear Keisha humming, that same gospel song she always hummed in the shower. "His eye is on the sparrow." I said, "Isaiah, baby, hold on to that passport. I'll call you back." Then I heard the water stop, heard footsteps crossing the bathroom floor, heard that specific creak the door makes, the one I keep meaning to oil, but never do. And I knew, the way a mother knows, the way a woman who's lived 66 years knows, that my whole world was about to split right down the middle. I set my coffee cup down slow. My hands weren't shaking yet, but they would be. The kitchen clock, James's old clock, the one that ticks too loud, said 9:51 a.m. 4 minutes since Isaiah's call. 4 minutes since reality cracked. Keisha came down the stairs wearing her white cotton blouse and those dark jeans she always wore on Thursdays. Hair damp, pulled back in a loose bun. Skin glowing like she'd just stepped out of a spa. She looked normal, completely, perfectly normal. "Morning, Miss Roberta," she said, reaching for the coffee pot. She always called me Miss Roberta, even after 8 years of marriage to my son Darnell. Said it was respect. "Who was that on the phone?" "Just Beverly," I lied. The word tasted wrong in my mouth. "Asking about Sunday dinner." Keisha poured her coffee, added cream with her right hand. Or was it her left? Why couldn't I remember which hand my own daughter-in-law used? 8 years and I couldn't remember. "I'm running to Fiesta Mart in a bit," she said, stirring slow. "We need milk. You need anything else?" I stared at her. This woman who'd been living under my roof for 8 years, who I'd welcomed like my own daughter, who mothered my grandbaby Amara, who sat in James's chair at Sunday dinners and made me laugh with stories about her nursing shifts at Ben Taub Hospital. How do you look at someone's face and wonder if it's real? "No, baby," I managed. "Just milk." She smiled, that same sweet smile, grabbed her purse from the counter, called out back soon, and walked out my front door. I stood there in my kitchen, the kitchen where I'd made breakfast for my boys 1,000 times, where James and I used to slow dance when we thought nobody was watching, where I'd taught Amara to make cornbread from my grandmother's recipe. And I felt the ground shift under my feet. My son had no reason to lie to me. Isaiah worked for TSA. His whole job was seeing things other people missed, catching what didn't fit. And my daughter-in-law was standing right in front of me with wet hair and that same sweet smile. One person cannot be in 2 places at once. That's not how the world works. That's not how physics works. That's not how reality works. Unless it wasn't one person. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. I lay in the bed I'd shared with James for 35 years and stared at the ceiling, listening to the house settle, listening to Keisha, or whoever she was, moving around in the guest room down the hall. At 2:17 a.m., I got up, went to my kitchen, pulled out the old spiral notebook I used for grocery lists and James's medical appointments back when he was sick, flipped to a clean page. I wrote across the top, Thursday, March 14th, 2024, 9:47 a.m., Isaiah called, Keisha at airport, Keisha at home. Same time. How? Then I started documenting everything. I'd never paid attention before. Why would I? But that morning, I looked, really looked. The grocery list stuck to the refrigerator with a Texas-shaped magnet. Neat, right-slanting letters. Every I dotted precisely. Every T crossed at the same height. The kind of handwriting teachers give gold stars for. The note on the counter about Amara's parent-teacher conference, written just yesterday. Messy, left slanting, letters cramped together like they were fighting for space. Different pressure on the pen, different rhythm entirely. I pulled both notes down, held them under the kitchen light, put them side by side. These weren't written by the same person. Couldn't be. I went through the house like a detective, found Amara's homework folder, found the family calendar, found shopping receipts with Keisha's signature at the bottom. The handwriting changed. Not every day, but often enough. Sometimes neat and controlled. Sometimes rushed and sloppy. Sometimes clearly right-handed. Sometimes unmistakably left-handed. Then I found the note that broke my heart. Amara had written in the margin of her math homework, in her careful 8-year-old printing. Yesterday, Mama helped me, and her writing was so pretty. Today, Mama wrote with her other hand, and it came out ugly. A child noticed. My 8-year-old grandbaby saw what I'd been too trusting, or too tired to see. I added to my notebook. March 15th, handwriting different. Sometimes right hand, sometimes left. Amara noticed. Saturday morning, Keisha, the warm version, spent an hour on the floor with Amara, braiding her hair into perfect cornrows, the kind that takes skill and patience. Singing Lift Every Voice and Sing while she worked. They laughed together. She kissed Amara's forehead and called her, my sweet girl. I watched from the kitchen doorway, my heart warm. This was the Keisha I knew. The Keisha I loved. Monday evening, Amara spilled sweet tea at dinner. Just knocked the glass over. Accident. She's 8. Keisha, the cold version, snapped. Not loud, but sharp. Cold as March wind. Watch what you're doing. You're so clumsy. Amara's face crumpled. She apologized 3 times, near tears. And Keisha just stared at her with blank eyes. No warmth, no recognition. Like Amara was a stranger annoying her at a restaurant. Darnell looked uncomfortable but said nothing. I wanted to say something, but what? Your wife is being mean to our daughter? It felt petty, small, the kind of thing you don't make a big deal about. Now I wrote it down. March 18th, Kay cold to Amara after spill, different from Saturday's warmth. Braiding pattern changed too. I was at my mailbox when Mrs. Jenkins stopped me. Mrs. Jenkins has lived across the street for 22 years. We've watched each other's children grow up. We've shared recipes and church programs and secrets. Roberta, is Keisha feeling all right? She asked, genuine concern in her voice. Why, you ask? Well, Monday morning she was out watering your azaleas, and when I waved, she came right over. We talked for 15 minutes about the church potluck. She was so warm, asked about my grandson Malcolm. Everything. Sweet as pie. Mrs. Jenkins shook her head. But this morning I saw her getting your mail, and I called out, "Good morning," and she just looked at me. Didn't wave, didn't smile. Walked straight back inside like I wasn't even there. I forced a smile. She's been stressed with work, you know. Double shifts at the hospital. Of course. Just seemed odd is all. Odd, yes. That's one word for it. Then Mr. Thompson at the corner store, the one where we buy our bread because James loved their jalapeno cheddar loaves, and I can't break the habit. Your daughter-in-law is an interesting one, he said while ringing up my groceries. How so? Sunday she came in, bought 2 loaves, thanked me like I'd given her a gift, talked about making French toast for your grandbaby. How excited the little one would be. He shook his head. This morning she came in, grabbed the bread, barely grunted. Didn't make eye contact once. Left without saying thank you. Like 2 different people. That phrase again. 2 different people. I drove home and added to my notebook. March 19th. Mrs. Jenkins says Kay ignored her Tuesday after being friendly Monday. Mr. Thompson says same, friendly Sunday, rude Tuesday. Multiple witnesses seeing personality changes. I was making breakfast when Amara came down early. She sat at the kitchen table watching me crack eggs into the skillet. She had that look on her face, the one children get when they're working up courage to say something hard. Grandma, she said quietly. Why is Mama like that? My hand stilled over the pan. Like what, baby? She twisted her fingers together, that anxious gesture she'd picked up recently. Different. Some days she hugs me so tight and sings to me and makes me feel so safe. Like Saturday when she did my hair. Her voice got smaller. But other days she acts like she doesn't even see me. She looks at me, but it's like she's looking through me. Like I'm not even there. I turned off the stove, knelt down to her level. Baby, maybe Mama's just tired sometimes. Adults have hard days. Amara shook her head. It's not tired, Grandma. It's different. Like, she struggled for the words. Like she's two people, out of the mouths of babes. I hugged her tight, felt her little heart beating against mine, felt the weight of what she was carrying, the confusion, the hurt, the not knowing. March 20th, I wrote later. Amara says K is two people. Child's intuition sees what we miss. By the end of that first week, I had 12 pages of documentation, 12 pages of evidence that something was catastrophically wrong. But evidence of what? That my daughter-in-law had a split personality? That she was going through some kind of breakdown? Or something else? Something impossible. Saturday, March 23rd, arrived with the weight of a decision. I was going to follow her. The thought made me feel ridiculous. Like some character in a bad TV movie. Some paranoid old woman who didn't trust her own family. But the alternative, doing nothing, letting the questions eat me alive, was worse. Darnell left early for a site inspection. Kissed Amara goodbye while she was still half asleep in her pajamas. Amara had a birthday party at 10 a.m., Taylor Rodriguez's 9th birthday. All the third graders invited. I'll take Amara to the party, I told Keisha over breakfast. Kept my voice casual. You go ahead and run your errands. Keisha smiled. Warm today. Genuine. That's perfect, Miss Roberta. I need to hit Fiesta anyway. We're out of everything. Fiesta Mart. Right. I dropped Amara at Taylor's house at 9:53 a.m. Watched until she was safely inside. Heard the explosion of children's voices welcoming her. Then I drove back to my street and parked 3 houses down. I felt like a fool. Sitting in my own neighborhood, wearing sunglasses even though it was overcast. Wearing a headscarf I'd found in the back of my closet, like I was Lena Horne trying to avoid paparazzi. But I was committed now. At 10:17 a.m., Keisha emerged from my house. She was wearing a blue sundress I'd never seen before. Something expensive looking. Something that didn't come from Target or Marshall's where we usually shopped. She walked. Didn't take her car. That was the first wrong thing. Fiesta Mart was 2.3 miles away. Nobody walked to Fiesta. Not in Houston, not in March. I gave her 30 seconds, then followed on foot. She moved with purpose. No hesitation. She knew exactly where she was going. We passed Fiesta Mart. She didn't even slow down. My stomach clenched. Where was she going? The neighborhood changed. Houses got smaller, paint peeling. Chain link fences instead of the wooden ones in our area. Cars parked on lawns. This wasn't Third Ward proper anymore. This was the part of Third Ward that hadn't gentrified yet. The part that still looked like it did when I first moved to Houston in 1981. I hung back farther, ducked behind parked cars and utility poles. If anyone I knew saw me, I'd never live down the shame. Keisha turned onto Lyons Avenue, walked 3 blocks, stopped in front of a small weathered house, number 4237. The porch sagged. The paint was faded, maybe blue once, now just gray. The yard needed mowing. A metal chair sat rusted by the door. She knocked, waited. The door opened. I was too far away to see who answered, but Keisha said something, nodded, and disappeared inside. The door closed. I stood there on the sidewalk across the street, hidden behind a delivery van, and stared at that closed door. What was she doing in there? Who lived there? Why had she lied about Fiesta Mart? I checked my watch. 10:47 a.m. I waited. Minutes crawled. 10 minutes. 15. 20. The door stayed closed. No movement. No sound. Part of me wanted to march up to that door, knock, demand answers. But fear kept me frozen. Fear of what I'd find. Fear that once I opened that door, I couldn't close it again. Couldn't unsee whatever truth was waiting. At 11:18 a.m., I forced myself to leave. Had to pick up Amara at 12:30. Couldn't risk being late. Couldn't raise suspicion. I walked back through those unfamiliar streets, past houses I didn't recognize, feeling like a stranger in my own city. I turned onto my street at 11:37 a.m. and stopped dead. Through my kitchen window, I could see her, Keisha, standing at the counter chopping vegetables, wearing a white blouse, not the blue sundress, hair pulled back in a ponytail, not loose around her shoulders like it had been. I checked my watch again. 11:37 a.m. I'd followed her for 32 minutes, watched her go into that house, walked home for 20 minutes. There was no way she could have gotten back before me. No possible way. She'd have to have left the house immediately after I did. Run the whole way. Changed clothes in record time. Physics doesn't work like that. Time doesn't work like that. Reality doesn't work like that. Unless there were two of them. I couldn't go inside yet. Couldn't face her. Whoever she was. I sat in my car, hands shaking, and wrote in my notebook with a pen that barely worked because my hands were trembling so hard. Saturday, March 23rd, 11:37 a.m., followed Kay to 4237 Lyons Avenue. She went inside, 10:47 a.m. I walked home. Kay was already in kitchen when I arrived. Different clothes, different hair. Impossible. Then, in capital letters, the thought I'd been avoiding for 2 weeks. I sat there for 5 minutes, got control of my breathing, wiped my face, forced myself to look normal. Then I went inside. Keisha looked up when I entered the kitchen. Her expression was different from this morning, colder, more distant. "Where did you go?" she asked. Not warm, almost suspicious. "Just a walk," I lied back. "Needed some air." She studied me for a long moment, then turned back to her chopping. "Amara's party ends at 12:30. Don't forget." "I know." I fled to my bedroom, locked the door, sat on the edge of the bed James and I had shared for 35 years. The bed where we'd laughed and fought and made love and made plans. The bed where I'd slept alone for 11 years since he died. And I let myself think it through. 2 people, identical people, taking turns living in my house. It was insane. People don't have identical twins running around living their lives for them. That's movie stuff. Fantasy. Impossible. But it was the only explanation that fit the facts. The handwriting, the personalities, the physical impossibility of being in 2 places at once. Amara's heartbreaking observation, like she's 2 people. Mrs. Jenkins and Mr. Thompson's confused comments about Keisha being friendly one day, cold the next. Isaiah's impossible phone call about Keisha at the airport while Keisha was in my shower. 2 people. I had to know who lived in that house. Had to know who was wearing my daughter-in-law's face. Had to know the truth, even if it destroyed everything. I waited 3 days. 3 days of pretending everything was normal. 3 days of watching Keisha, watching for which version showed up each morning. 3 days of writing in my notebook and planning my next move. Tuesday afternoon, while Darnell was at work and Amara was at school and Keisha had claimed another doctor's appointment, I grabbed a family photo from the living room mantel. The photo from Amara's 7th birthday. Everyone smiling. Darnell in his Sunday suit. Keisha in that yellow dress. Amara with her new bike. Me standing behind them all, hands on Darnell's shoulders. We looked happy. We looked like a family. Maybe we'd been a lie the whole time. I drove to 4237 Lyons Avenue. The house looked worse in daylight. The porch steps creaked under my weight. My heart hammered so hard I thought I might pass out right there. But I'd come too far to turn back now. Before I knocked, I stopped at the small fruit stand on the corner. A woman about my age, tired eyes, strong hands, was arranging oranges in careful pyramids. I pulled out the photo. "Excuse me, ma'am. Have you seen this woman around here?" I pointed to Keisha. The vendor squinted at the photo. "Oh, sure. She comes and goes from that house right there." She pointed directly at 4237. I see her maybe 3-4 times a week. Sometimes she's dressed nice, sometimes more casual. Keeps to herself, mostly. My hands trembled as I thanked her and put the photo back in my purse. This was it. The moment where my suspicions became real, or the moment I discovered I'd lost my mind completely. I walked to the door, raised my hand, knocked. The woman who answered looked exactly like Keisha. Exactly. Same face, same height, same long dark hair, same brown eyes, same small scar by her left eyebrow from when she fell off a bike as a child. Keisha had told me that story at our first Sunday dinner together. Every feature identical, but her eyes showed fear instead of recognition. She was wearing a faded Houston Texans t-shirt and old jeans. Her hands clutched a dishcloth like it was a lifeline. She looked terrified. "Who are you?" I demanded. My voice came out stronger than I felt. I thrust the photo toward her. "Why do you look exactly like my daughter-in-law?" She stepped back, stammering. I don't know what you're talking about. I think you have the wrong house." "Aaliyah, don't hide." Another voice came from inside the house. Female, firm. "Let her in. This has gone on long enough." A younger woman appeared behind the frightened double, mid-30s, dark hair pulled back in a practical bun, tired but kind eyes. The look of someone who worked in social services. I'd seen that look before at the community center. "Mrs. Bivens, isn't it?" she said. "I've seen your picture. I'm Janet Williams, Aaliyah's roommate." She opened the door wider. "Please come in. You deserve to know the truth." I stepped inside that house on Lyons Avenue and entered a world I'd never imagined existed. The living room was small. Sparse furniture, a couch with worn cushions, a coffee table with water rings, an old television with a crack in the corner. But it was clean. Lived in. Real. Medical bills were stacked on the side table. I could see the numbers even from where I stood. $847.63. $1,203.99. $956.44. All marked past due in red letters. An oxygen tank sat in the corner, tubes coiled neatly beside it. The woman with Keisha's face, Aaliyah, Janet had called her, sank into a chair. Her hands were shaking. "Please," Janet said, gesturing to the couch. "Sit down, Mrs. Bivens. This is going to take some time." I sat, but I didn't relax. Couldn't. "About a year ago," Janet began, her voice steady and professional, "Aaliyah was waiting for the bus on Almeda Road. It was late, around 10:30 p.m. She'd just finished her second shift at the Walmart on Old Spanish Trail. Aaliyah spoke for the first time. Her voice was soft, scared. Nothing like Keisha's confident tone. "I was so tired, my feet hurt. I just wanted to get home to Mama." She looked up at me. "Then this woman walked up to the bus stop, and we both just froze. Like looking in a mirror," Janet added. "She was wearing nice clothes," Aaliyah continued. "Designer purse, expensive shoes, everything I couldn't afford. And she had my face, my exact face. My chest felt tight." "What did you do?" We stared at each other for maybe 2 minutes. Neither of us said anything at first. Finally, she said, "This is impossible." And I said, "I know." "They exchanged phone numbers," Janet said. "Aaliyah came home and told me about it. I told her it was strange, that she should be careful." 2 weeks later, Aaliyah whispered, "she called me, said her name was Keisha, said she had a business proposition for me." My hands gripped the armrest. "What kind of proposition?" "She said she needed help with scheduling conflicts. That's what she called it. Scheduling conflicts." Aaliyah's voice broke. "She said she'd pay me $200 per visit, sometimes $300. All I had to do was go to an address, follow simple instructions, act normal. She'd text me when to come and when to leave. $200, $300. For a woman working 2 minimum wage jobs, that was a fortune. "How often?" I asked. My voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. "Twice a week at first, sometimes 3 times, for a whole year." Tears started down Aaliyah's face. "She gave me your address, gave me names, Miss Roberta, Darnell, Amara. She told me basic things, what you liked for breakfast, what time Amara went to school, simple stuff. She said nobody would even notice, Janet added quietly. I thought about all those Tuesdays and Thursdays over the past year, all those dinners, all those conversations, all those times I'd hugged my daughter-in-law and felt something was off but couldn't name it. How many of those times had it been this stranger, this desperate woman who needed money for her mother's medication? Why? The word came out harsh. Why would you agree to this? Aaliyah stood up, walked to a doorway at the back of the house. Mama, she called softly. You awake? A weak voice answered. I'm awake, baby. There's someone here who needs to understand. Aaliyah led me to a small bedroom. The woman in the bed was frail, maybe 70 years old, but looking older. The kind of aging that comes from a lifetime of hard work and insufficient medical care. Her breathing was labored. An oxygen tube ran under her nose. More medication bottles covered the nightstand. I counted them. 7 different prescriptions. I picked one up. Dorothy Washington. Insulin. 288 $7.99s. Insurance rejected. Mrs. Bivens, the old woman said. Her voice was weak but clear. I'm Dorothy Washington. I used to be a nurse at County General Hospital before I got sick. Your mother has severe diabetes and congestive heart failure, Janet explained. She needs 7 different medications. The total cost per month is $843. Aaliyah works 2 jobs, Walmart and overnight cleaning at the medical center. Even with both jobs, it's barely enough. Aaliyah sat on the edge of her mother's bed. When Keisha offered me that money, $200 per visit, sometimes $300, she covered her face with her hands. Mama needed her medicine. We'd already skipped doses twice because we couldn't afford refills. I told myself it was harmless, that I was just helping someone with scheduling, that nobody would get hurt. But people did get hurt, I said quietly. I know. Aaliyah was sobbing now. I know, I'm so sorry. I didn't understand what I was doing. I just needed the money. Mama was getting sicker and she couldn't finish. I looked at this woman, this stranger who'd been in my house, eating my food, hugging my grandbaby, and I saw what Keisha had seen. Not a sister, not family, not blood, just an opportunity, just a tool, just someone desperate enough not to ask questions. There's more, Janet said. She looked uncomfortable. About 3 months ago, I followed Keisha. I wanted to see who this woman really was, who would pay someone to live her life for her. Where did she go? Brennan's of Houston. You know it? I knew it. Expensive restaurant in Midtown, white tablecloths, $200 steaks. The kind of place James and I went once for our 30th anniversary and saved up for months. She was with a man, Janet continued. White man, maybe 65. Expensive suit, looked like Brioni, maybe 4,000. Rolex Presidential on his wrist. They were sitting in a private corner booth. How close were they? Very close. Intimate. His hand was on hers. She was laughing at everything he said. I got close enough to hear a name. Janet met my eyes. Preston Hayes. The name hit me like a fist to the stomach. Preston Hayes, the real estate developer. His face was on billboards all over Houston. Hayes Properties, building Houston's future. Luxury condos, high-end commercial developments, worth maybe $200 million according to the Business Journal. My son worked 60-hour weeks as a civil engineer, made $87,000 a year. Good money, honest money. Money he earned with his hands and his mind and his sweat. But not Preston Hayes money, not $200 million money, not first-class to Paris money. She's having an affair, I said. Not a question. A statement. Yes, Janet confirmed. I stood up slowly. My knees hurt. My heart hurt worse. How often did you come to my house? I asked Aaliyah. Twice a week, every week, for a year. 52 weeks, twice a week, 104 times. 104 times, my son lived with a stranger wearing his wife's face. 104 times my grandbaby was hugged and kissed and cared for by someone who was just following instructions. 104 times I made dinner for an imposter and never knew. Did you know? I asked Aaliyah directly. Did you know we were real people? That Amara was a real child? That Darnell was a real husband? Not at first, she whispered. At first I thought maybe you were actors, or friends helping with something. I don't know. I didn't let myself think about it. She looked up at me with desperate eyes. But after a few visits, yes, I knew. I knew Amara was real. I knew you all loved each other. And I kept coming anyway because Mama needed her medicine, and I didn't know what else to do. The truth was uglier than I'd imagined. Not just Keisha's betrayal, but this woman's choice, made out of desperation, yes, but still a choice, to participate in destroying my family. I'm sorry, Aaliyah said again. I'm so sorry. I looked at her, really looked at her, saw the poverty in this house, saw the medical bills, saw the mother dying slowly because they couldn't afford proper treatment, saw a woman who'd been backed into a corner and made the only choice she thought she had. Did Keisha know? I asked quietly. Did she know you needed the money for your mother's medicine? Yes. I told her the first time we talked. I was honest about why I needed it. So Keisha knew this woman was desperate, knew she had a sick mother, knew she was barely surviving, and used that desperation like a weapon. I drove home in a daze, but my mind was working, racing, connecting pieces I'd been too shocked to connect before. Two people can't look that identical by coincidence. Not the same face, not the same height, not the same exact features down to the scar by the eyebrow. That level of similarity doesn't happen by accident. I parked in my driveway, sat there for 5 minutes. Then I went inside, straight to my bedroom and opened my laptop, the one Darnell had bought me 2 years ago and patiently taught me how to use. I started searching. Birth records, hospital databases, adoption registries. I called my church sister, Beverly. She works at Harris County Records. Has for 23 years. Beverly, I said, I need a favor, and I need you not to ask questions yet. What you need, Roberta? I need you to search birth records. County General Hospital, March 3rd, 1990, looking for twin girls. Silence. Then, this about Keisha? Please, Beverly, just trust me. It took her 3 days. 3 days of calling in favors. 3 days of searching through old records. 3 days of me pretending everything was normal while my world spun out of control. Friday afternoon, my phone rang. I found something, Beverly said. Roberta, you need to sit down. I sat. March 3rd, 1990, County General Hospital. Twin girls born to Maria and Joseph Santos. Both healthy, both listed on the birth certificate. She paused. But according to the nursing notes, only one baby went home with the parents. My heart stopped. What happened to the other one? The notes say the family was very poor, no insurance, no stable housing. The social worker was talking about foster care, splitting the twins up. But one of the nurses, Dorothy Washington, she took the second baby home. Unofficial adoption. Dorothy Washington, Aaliyah's mother. The pieces clicked together like a lock opening. Beverly, I said slowly. What were the babies' names? The birth certificate just says Baby Girl Santos A and Baby Girl Santos B. But there's a note. The parents kept Baby A, named her Keisha Marie Santos. Baby B was taken by Nurse Washington. She named her Aaliyah. I sat there holding the phone, not breathing, not moving. Keisha and Aaliyah weren't just lookalikes, weren't just coincidentally similar. They were twin sisters, born on the same day in the same hospital to the same parents. One kept, one given away, and 34 years later, when life had given one comfort and left the other with nothing, instead of helping her sister, Keisha had exploited her. Saturday morning, I returned to 4237 Lyons Avenue. This time, I brought a folder full of printed documents. Birth certificates, hospital records, everything Beverly had found. Janet answered the door. "Mrs. Bivens, we weren't expecting you." "I know, but there's something I need to show you. Something Aaliyah needs to know." We sat in that small living room again. Mrs. Dorothy was in her wheelchair today, oxygen tube in place. Aaliyah sat beside her, looking frightened. I opened the folder, laid the documents on the coffee table one by one. "March 3rd, 1990, I said. County General Hospital. Twin girls born to Maria and Joseph Santos." I placed the birth certificate in front of them, pointed to the names. Baby girl Santos A. Baby girl Santos B. Aaliyah stared at the paper. "I don't understand." "The family was poor," I continued, reading from the nursing notes. "No insurance, no money, no stable housing. They couldn't afford to keep both babies. The social worker was talking about foster care, about splitting them up." I looked at Mrs. Dorothy. "But you couldn't let that happen." "Could you?" The old woman's eyes filled with tears. "I couldn't. I couldn't let them put that beautiful baby in the system, so I took her home. I told them I'd adopt her, give her a good home." "You raised her," I said softly. "You loved her. You did the best you could." "I always meant to tell her," Mrs. Dorothy whispered. "Meant to tell her about her twin sister, about where she came from, but life got hard and I got sick and I never found the right time." Aaliyah was staring at the documents. Her hands were shaking. "Keisha?" she breathed. "Keisha is my sister? My twin sister?" "Yes, but that means—" Her voice rose. "That means she knew or suspected. We have the same birthday, the same face. She must have figured it out, and she still paid me to—" She couldn't finish. The sound that came out of her was inhuman, a wail of betrayal and grief so profound I felt it in my bones. Janet wrapped her arms around Aaliyah while she collapsed into sobs. I sat there, watching this woman learn that the sister she never knew she had, the sister who should have been family, should have been blood, should have been solidarity, had instead become her exploiter. I thought about it on my drive home. 2 babies born on the same day, same DNA, same potential, same beginning, but such different lives. Keisha's path, kept by parents who struggled but tried. Grew up in Southeast Houston, got into Texas Southern University on a nursing scholarship. Met Darnell at a career fair in 2016. He was 27, starting to make good money as an engineer. She was 26, working at Ben Taub Hospital. They married in 2018. Moved into my house temporarily to save for their own place. Had Amara in 2019. Never left. Keisha got security, got middle-class comfort, got Sunday dinners and paid-off car and health insurance and a daughter who had everything she needed. But somewhere along the way, she got bored. Good enough wasn't enough anymore. A good husband wasn't exciting. A stable life wasn't luxurious. So when she met Preston Hayes at some real estate gala where her hospital was fundraising, she saw her chance for more. Aaliyah's path, given up at birth, raised by Dorothy Washington, a nurse making $42,000 a year. They lived in 3rd Ward before it was trendy, before the coffee shops and galleries. When it was still struggling, Dorothy got sick in 2015, diabetes, then heart failure, had to quit nursing, disability payments of $1,847 per month. Not enough. Aaliyah couldn't afford college, worked 2 jobs. Walmart during the day, cleaning crew at night. Still barely enough for rent and groceries and Dorothy's medications. When Keisha offered her $200 per visit, Aaliyah saw survival, saw her mother getting her insulin on time, saw not having to choose between medicine and electricity. She didn't see that she was betraying a family that looked like hers, that Amara had her eyes, that she was helping her own sister cheat on a man who deserved better. 2 sisters, same blood, same face, but one got choices, the other got survival. And when they finally met, instead of closing that gap, Keisha widened it, used it, profited from it. That night I sat at my kitchen table, The same table where I'd fed my boys breakfast before school for 20 years, where James and I had argued over finances and made up over coffee. And I made a plan. I couldn't just confront Keisha privately. She'd deny everything, twist the facts, make me look like a paranoid old woman seeing conspiracies. I couldn't tell Darnell first. He'd be too hurt, too angry. He'd confront her immediately, and she'd run straight to Preston Hayes' penthouse. We'd never get the truth. No, this had to be orchestrated perfectly. Everyone in one room, all the evidence laid out, no escape routes, no room for denial. I called Isaiah, told him everything. The body double, the twin sisters, the affair with Preston Hayes, the systematic deception. He was quiet for a long moment after I finished. "I'll kill her, Mama." "You'll do no such thing. You'll help me." "How?" "I need those passport photos you took. I need airport security footage if you can get it. I need flight manifests. I need dates and times that prove she was traveling while Aaliyah was at the house." "I have everything," he said. His voice was cold, controlled. "I photographed every page of that passport before I turned it in. I pulled the security footage. I knew something was wrong." "Good. Can you get Friday evening off 6 days from now?" "I'll be there." Then I returned to Lands Avenue, made my proposal to Aaliyah and Janet. "I need you both to come to a family dinner. Friday evening, 6 p.m. I need you to tell the truth. Everything. Every detail." Aaliyah looked terrified. "She's my sister. I've never had family, and now I'm going to destroy hers." "Baby girl," I said firmly, "you didn't destroy anything. She did. You're just going to shine a light on what's been hiding in the dark." "What if Darnell hates me? What if Amara will understand that you were used, that you were desperate, that you didn't know what you were doing until it was too late?" I took her hands. "And I'm going to help you. I promise. I'll pay your mama's medical bills. All of them. I'll help you find legitimate work. But I need this from you first." "Why?" Janet asked. "Why would you help her after what she did?" I looked at Aaliyah, really looked at her. Saw someone genuine, someone kind, someone who'd shown up week after week and actually cared about Amara, even when she didn't have to, even when she was just following instructions. "Because she's a victim too," I said. "And because family shouldn't exploit each other, even when they're desperate, even when they're struggling. Family should lift each other up." I stood to leave, turned back at the door. "And because I have a feeling that you, the real you, Aaliyah, might be exactly what my family needs to heal. But that's for later. For now, I need the truth to come out." "I'll do it," Aaliyah said quietly. "I'll tell them everything. For the next 6 days, I carried this burden alone. Watched Keisha move through my house. Watched her kiss Darnell goodbye in the mornings. Watched her read to Amara at night. Watched her play the perfect wife, the perfect mother. And I said nothing. Every morning I woke up at 5 a.m., made coffee, sat at my kitchen table, and planned Friday night down to the last detail. The menu: pot roast, Darnell's favorite, collard greens with ham hocks, mac and cheese, from James's mother's recipe, cornbread, peach cobbler, food that said family, food that said important occasion, food that would make everyone sit down and stay seated even when they wanted to run. The setting: formal dining room, good china, cloth napkins, candles, an atmosphere that said something is happening here tonight that matters. The timing: 6 p.m. sharp, after work, but before anyone could claim to be tired, before Keisha could have plans with Preston. The witnesses: Isaiah with his evidence, Aaliyah with her confession, Janet with her testimony, all arriving at 6:15 p.m. after everyone was seated. I marked it on the calendar in red pen. Family dinner, 6 p.m., everyone. And I prayed. Prayed that I was doing the right thing. Prayed that the truth would set us free instead of destroying us. Prayed that James, wherever he was, would understand that I was protecting our family the only way I knew how. Friday morning arrived like a death sentence, and I was ready.